And happy Monday to you guys. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We are back. Hope you guys had a good weekend, man. Hope you had a good weekend. What's going on? Thank you for joining me live at lunch. I am Marcus Thomas. You can call me Coach. Chilling out with you. Crazy weekend. A little bit of a relaxing weekend. Nothing got crazy. I guess if you are in the Philadelphia area, it got kind of crazy because you was watching the Sixers in the playoffs. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation with Joel Embiid and his knee. Philadelphia Phillies looking all right. And like I said a couple weeks ago, everybody pump your brakes on the hate and the worry. People were losing their stuff over 5 games, and it's like, chill out. It ain't nothing happened yet. But in any case, and of course, our Philadelphia Eagles. It's draft week. And everything is about to hit the fan because this is when it is about to get real. We are in draft week. All of the stories are getting hot and heavy. A lot of talk about what we're going to do with linebacker. Are we going to move up? I still saw a couple of articles about the investigation about tampering. I didn't even know that was still in the mix. Is Isaiah Rodgers going to get reinstated? I think he is. But when? If he's not, does that affect our draft and what we are projected to do or what Howie Roseman wants to do? A lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. But it's here. Can't do nothing about it. We're going to find out on Thursday one way or the other. So we got 3 days until the draft. And I did a couple of mock drafts today. I'll let you in on those a little bit later. But you never know what's going to happen, man. You never know what's going to happen because it is a lot of subterfuge going on now. Ewing 609, number 1 out the limo, brother. I appreciate you. What's up, James? But yeah, man, it's gonna be a wild week. Wild week. A lot of rumors are falling around. Do I think that the top 10 are going to stay the top 10? I kind of do. I kind of think that everybody's going to stand pat. I think the Eagles specifically, I could see them possibly moving up, or I could also see if the rumors are true. Could Howie Roseman put a package together for PS2? Patrick Surtain? I don't know. Do they still want him if they have the opportunity to trade up and get somebody else? I think we're in a good spot at 22. I don't think we really need to trade up. But I'm saying that as a fan of Cooper DeJean. I'm hoping if they stay at 22, they pick up Cooper DeJean because based on the mocks that I have done, he'll be available. If he is not available, one of the other cornerbacks / safeties that are available will still be top-notch. So, in my opinion, I kind of think we're in a win-win situation. But it all depends on what the other teams do. Is everybody going to stand pat? If somebody going to move, is Washington going to take Drake May or JJ McCarthy? Or if something gets tripped up, that can upset the apple cart, and everybody's maneuvering to get the guy that they want. But I just think we're in a good spot because if we don't get Cooper DeJean, that means they're going to move up and possibly get an offensive tackle. And they're going to get the offensive tackle that they want. Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton. I think Tyler Guyton will fall to us at 22. And then you got that kid Rosengarten. You got, anybody but Caleb Williams. Yeah, we don't need a quarterback. But I think it's, I just think the Eagles are in a very good spot to be able to, if they don't get uh, Kenyon, if they don't get Cooper DeJean, there are a lot of other people that are available at that spot that are still top picks, in my opinion. And not for nothing, it wouldn't be anything for Howie to make a move and put some picks together, package James Bradbury, and send them somewhere for Patrick Surtain to, or to move up to get the pick that they want. No, I disagree. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. would be a good pick for us right now. We already loaded at on offense. We are loaded. You can't have. It's almost like you got to have you got to have a down spot. You know what I'm saying? You got to have, you got AJ Brown that peaks, then you get Devontae Smith that peaks, then Jalen Hurts that peaks. Who's your third receiver? Everybody can't be peaking because you get 11 guys on one side of the ball, but there's only one ball. So that would be nice to have that, but then we're going to find ourselves in the situation where AJ Brown again. We just paid the money to Devontae Smith. Now you got Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think he's going to be as advertised. What's going on, Cody K? So I think we are stacked on offense. You're not going to draft a top or going to move up for a top wide receiver for him to be your number 3 receiver. It doesn't make sense. So I don't think that's going to happen. Now I could see some people possibly trying to make moves to take that pick, move up, move down, whatever they got to do. It's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing after pick number 10, because I think everybody from 1 to 10 is pretty much set with what they want to do, and that's okay. Yeah, Cody K, hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate the reminder, man. If you are on Twitter, if you can, mosey on over to YouTube and follow me on YouTube, man. That's where I get the most growth. So please and thank you, and I appreciate you. Trotter Jr. Trotter Jr. is not the best linebacker on our list. You got Colson, obviously. You got Edge Cooper, Peyton Wilson. You got a lot of guys. I forget. I'm blanking right now, but the kid out of Kentucky. So there's a lot of things and a lot of ways we can move. Trotter, if I had we do have our choice, and I think Trotter will be available on our third pick at 53 if we stay with that. But I think 50 or 53 could be the pick that gets traded away. So again, I don't know. 22 and 50 or 53. We'll see what Howie does. I would be surprised if Howie keeps all of those picks. One of those picks is going to get traded, in my opinion. I'll be surprised. And that's not a bad thing if Howie decides to keep all of those picks. But in most of my mocks, I'm looking at it. I just did one about an hour and a half ago. Let me see. What did I do? Dang it. Hold on for a second. Yeah, it doing different things. I went Cooper. Yeah, I went Cooper. So Cooper the first pick, and then I went Rosengarten. So I didn't get a. Now normally in all my mock drafts, normally that 50 or 53, I was usually going linebacker. But this one, I went. I waited until 120, that fourth pick, to see what would be available, and ended up with Tyron Hooper, which is not a bad pick. I think that kid from Michigan, if you saw my video that I just posted early this morning, that kid from Michigan, his size, he's a good linebacker. He might not be as fast as Edge Cooper, maybe not as fast as Trot Jr., but one of the things I was saying is even look at somebody like Devin White, who is super elite fast at his size and at his position. Devin White is running 4.4s at linebacker, which is incredible. However, when you're at Mike linebacker, that's great if you come across a team and all they're going to do is pass, 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 pass. And there are some of those, but you still have a big contingency of teams that are in the league that are going to run the ball at you. And when you are an undersized linebacker, you still got to deal with the physics. You still can't beat physics. If you are 220 pounds and you got an offensive lineman that's 220, or I'm sorry, 320, 330, 340, that's coming at you, you're going to lose that battle. So if you look at Edge Cooper, if you look at Coulson, Peyton Wilson, they have enough speed to get around those blocks. But eventually, the law of averages says eventually you're going to have to pony up against one of them big offensive linemen. And when that happens, or they shift right, or they scheme it right, game plan it right, you are always going to be at a disadvantage because of your size. And the kid from Michigan is 6'3", 250. So you need somebody that could buck up. People said the same thing when TJ Edwards was here. He was just considered an okay linebacker. And what did he do? He could take on those big offensive linemen and he could stuff the run. If you are undersized and you are playing Mike linebacker against a run team, your film study, and I just said this in my latest post on Twitter, your film study has to be elite level. Because if you're going to win those battles, the only way, not the only way, but most of the time, when you are an undersized linebacker, the only way you can win that battle when you're giving up 100 plus pounds is if you get to the spot before the offensive lineman gets to the spot. That's the only way you're going to win. You got to get to the hole before the offensive lineman does. Because what that does is even if the offensive lineman takes you out, you're already in the space. So by the time you engage with the offensive lineman, the pulling guard, the tackle, the double team that's coming up on you, whatever the situation presents itself, by the time they got to deal with you, the running back has to go in a different direction. He's not going to sit and wait for the lineman to clear the hole. The lineman's job is to get through the hole and clear the way. If the linebacker is in the hole, running back's got to go in a different direction. And there are some linebackers that can do that, and that takes some elite film study. And not for nothing, you can only get away with that with one or two times before the offense should adjust and be able to put something else together to either fake you out, take advantage of your aggressiveness, and do something else, take you out of the play. That's the strategy. That's the chess match on the field. So we'll see. But and I'm saying all that to say we have good options at cornerback if we stay at 22 and if we wait until 50 or 53. We got good options at cornerback. We got good options at linebacker. Cornerback / safety, I'm putting all in the same boat. It really comes down to if Howie Roseman wants to move up to get one of those top shelf offensive linemen, offensive tackles. So I've had a couple of mock drafts where Marius Mims falls to us at 22, but most of the time he is gone. So it all depends on who falls with us, right? It all depends on what happens, what everybody else does. And it's funny because every time you go to a different website, they have different logic on what they're trying to do, right? So even here, look at this. Chop Robinson almost fell to us. And that's been other situations. But do we want to get it? Do we want to draft another edge rusher? I don't know. When we just spent all that money on Bryce Huff. So it all depends on where the Eagles' heads are at, what their strategy is, and that's the information that nobody's letting up because you don't want the other teams to know what you're doing. period. You don't want to give away your hand. None of that. So, I mean, at 22, Brock Bowers is gone. Now, I've had a couple of mocks, and I think they were on other websites where Marius Mims fell to us at 22. I even had one mock. I've only had one. Hasn't happened often, but Kenyon Mitchell fell to us at 22. So I was, how the hell did that happen? And it was because of a trade earlier. Now you hearing Terry and Arnold. How is he going to fall 10 spots? Somebody's got to do some wheeling and dealing, moving up and moving back, and giving up them picks. Don't know. Anything can happen at this point. Anything can happen. But even just messing around, Caleb Williams, the number 2 spot is going to kind of make a little bit of difference. But it shouldn't upset the apple cart that much because it's either going to be Drake May or JJ McCarthy. I can't see the Patriots passing up Marvin Harrison Jr. I just don't see that. But do the Patriots want to go for a quarterback too? So it all depends on where their head is at. Now, if you call somebody up in Boston and you try to figure out what they trying to do up there, you might get a totally different explanation of what they think is going to happen. So, but yeah, everything looks as the way it should be to number 10. Then you get to number 11. Are the Vikings even going to have JJ McCarthy? And if they don't get him, are they going to take the other quarterback? Then Terry and Arnold, Kenyon Mitchell, Marius Mims, Brock Bowers, Dallas Turner. The rest of this stuff is pretty much the way it's been going. Then you get to the Eagles, and what are you going to do? You guys know my pick. It's going to be a defensive pick. And I'm going Cooper DeJean. A lot of people like Nate Wiggins, and I understand why. Nate Wiggins is a playmaker. Me personally, I like Cooper DeJean over Nate Wiggins because Nate Wiggins can cover, but at some point in time, I need him to come up and be able to make a tackle. And I do not want somebody at his size coming up making business decisions. That killed us last year. Because we couldn't tackle. So I need a physical, durable defensive back, somebody in the secondary. And in my opinion, Cooper DeJean is a little bit more physical than Nate Wiggins is. Coverage-wise, I can't really argue with that. Nate Wiggins is that dude. But we still got too many teams that like to run the ball, and we got to be able to come up and make tackles. So, I'm leaning on Cooper DeJean a little bit. But if we do go with Nate Wiggins, I ain't going to be mad at that pick. So, yeah, Cody K. But at the end of the day, is what are you willing to pay for? If it's that important to you as a team, what are you willing to pay for? And if he's going to be a number 1 spot, if you pick a cornerback, safety, somebody in that spot in the first round, that means most likely, not all the time, but most likely they have to play. You got to get them ready to play because you're not going to spend that money and sit somebody on the bench or wait for an injury. You don't want that to happen. They got to be ready. You ain't going to spend that money on a car and then not be able to drive it. Not going to happen. So there's a lot more thought that goes into these top picks than people really realize. You can't really sit unless you got somebody in front that is just hands down blowing everybody away. And I don't think we have that yet. Yes, we have CJGJ. Avonte Maddox is not going to start. I don't see that happening. You got Reed Blankenship. Sidney Brown is not quite ready off that knee injury yet. We haven't seen him on the field yet. So there's a lot of things that could happen. And you just don't know. But that's the fun of the draft this year, man. It's going to be all over the place. We don't know what anybody's going to do. Everybody thinks that they know. But the reality of the situation is we don't know. We don't. I've been doing these mock drafts for the last 2 weeks. Then you go to another website, and it's totally different. And it's like, well, who's got the right information? Why is one algorithm better than the other? At the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know. McShay, Kuiper, all of these prognosticators that they're gonna be on all week, and they guessing too. They make it look good when you watching the telecast, because they get that big stack of papers, and you got somebody on a computer. So regardless of who picks, you got people feeding them information, and they like to throw in that, see, just like I said, or I told you. They didn't know. They're getting fed stats, and never forget that it's a production. Their job, and the people behind the scenes that's actually producing the show and fact finding and getting all the information, their job is to make the people in front of the camera look like they knew what the hell they were talking about. But the reality is they don't. They don't. So we'll see what's going to happen. It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be a fun week. I'm going to do about 3, 4, 5 mock drafts a day. But what I am going to do is, I love the Pro Football Network website to do the mock draft. However, I'm going to try some other ones just to get different results. Because like I said earlier, the algorithm is not the same. Algorithm is not the same. And also, let me see. Let me do my profile. Did I have it on here? Yeah. This is what I put up early. Michigan linebacker Junior Colson. Since we talking about linebackers, Colson, you talking about somebody that's 6'3", 250 at Mike. Devin White's going to be there, but Devin White's giving up that size. And how is Fangio gonna play that? You got 4.4 speed, but I think what it eventually comes to is game planning, who you're playing, what they're going to do, and figuring out what's best for that particular situation in that particular week. Because we can still get a good linebacker later in the draft. Obviously it's just not going to be as high profile, but that's okay. That's okay, because I will always go back and look what TJ Edwards did. People around here didn't want to give TJ Edwards 2 thoughts. He's there, he's starting, but we gotta have a better answer. And the only thing he did was lead the team in tackles that year. And it's like, give the right person the right opportunity and watch him work. We thought that Nakobe Dean was going to be better than advertised, and I like what I saw when he was on the field. The problem is he couldn't stay on the field, and that has been an issue for us. That was an issue for us last year. That's why we got in trouble with our secondary last year. So we have to look at those situations and be aware of them. I hope Nakobe Dean can stay on the field, but just like I was describing those small linebackers, now I will say this about Nakobe Dean. He is a very intelligent linebacker. That is a smart dude, but he's still undersized. Devin White might be a little bit bigger, but in the big scheme of things, he's still undersized. The flip side of that is, that's not nothing that he hadn't heard before. That's not something that's new to him. They probably told him the same things, like, how you going to play linebacker in the SEC at Georgia when you got them big offensive linemen coming at you? But you know what he did? He balled out. So it's not like he ain't seen this before. I just need him to stay on the field. He has been blessed / cursed with the DNA. He's a dude. You can tell the way he's built. He got them small joints, them little ankles. Looks good, but practically when you're on the field and you're trying to cut, against 300 pounds coming at you and probably 600 pounds of force coming at you in one day. Chris Bruce, what's going on, my bro? Again, man, I talk about physics because that's something people don't frame it in that way, but I talk about it because that is a thing. That is something that I remember thinking about when I was a running back. Because if we going up against a good linebacker or something like that, and somebody I was I was 190 pounds in college. And I got somebody coming up to me that's 240, 230, 240, teeing off on me. I had to figure out what I was going to do to at least to minimize the impact. I know I'm getting hit because I got the ball. Like I had to figure out a way to minimize that impact. So what I would do is I develop some muscle memory where if I'm running this way and I see the linebacker coming from the side, I knew he was going to get me. So at the last minute, I could turn towards him and just all I had to do was make sure my head was lower than his head. And I would try to put my head right in his neck, right in his decolletage right there. And what that would do is snap his neck back. Where the head goes, the body will follow. So even if they would take me down, I would fall forward. He would knock me back the other way. I would fall forward. So, and I'm saying all that to say is just you got to be aware of the size and the people you're going across. Look at what happened with San Francisco. You put the wrong dude on the wrong dude. When Hassan Reddick got back there and jacked up Brock Purdy, you had the wrong guy on the wrong guy. You don't have no tight end in motion thinking they can block one of the leaders in sacks in the NFL. But he gambled and he lost. So it's interesting the way all of this stuff is going to play itself out. Because again, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. So we're going to keep listening to all of these rumors and all this other kind of stuff going on because it's funny at this point. Very funny at this point. So, I saw some news. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Eagles news. Yeah. So they got this back up for resolution. Yeah, like I mentioned that earlier. Let me bring y'all into this. The tampering violations. What is that going to mean going forward? Because that could, if they give us a penalty or cost us a draft pick or something like that, that could be problematic. But I thought this was handled, and my question is, if it's not handled, or maybe it's handled, but they just haven't officially announced the results. I wonder if they've contacted the Eagles to say, hey, here's what's coming. This is what you can or cannot do. Funny situation though, man. And sometimes you got to tell people like, hey, y'all talk too much, man. And this is the danger of social media. That coach went on the air and yeah, Saquon told me, and or was it Saquon or was it his agent? Like what was it? Very difficult to make a mistake like that. You know what I'm saying? But I've seen people do it before. I do it all the time, and I look at it in the same fashion as this. Like my wife might ask me, hey, did you talk to so and so? Like, yeah, I talked to him the other day. And I didn't talk to him. We texted each other, but I didn't talk to that person. And I put it in that vein. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, if the agent calls and says, hey, Saquon said this, and then the coach get on the mic and say, yeah, Saquon said, like, well, you didn't talk to Saquon. Well, his boy said, so I just assume, like, people do that all the time. But in this is a situation where these coaches got to understand, you got to be responsible. What's up, Bob Brown? So you have got to be responsible for whatever it is that you're saying. And you have to be very, very careful nowadays because, again, everybody's got receipts. You know what the rules are. And if you don't, that is your responsibility to figure it out. Who you can talk to, when you can talk to them, and what you're supposed to say on air. And at this point, the best thing you can do is just not say nothing sometimes. Just keep it to yourself. So um, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't know what the situation is going to be, but we will find out what's going to happen here. I tend to think that if there was something coming down the pipe, um, that Howie would know about it. So, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong because the NFL is known to pull the rug out from you. So you never know what's going to happen, man. So, um, interesting position to be in, but I'm good right now. I know there's a lot of talk about us moving up and stuff, but I think I said this before. I am very good at 22. However, it plays out, I think 22 is a great spot to be in because most of the guys that we are interested in, um, if they are not available, Bob, I'll check that out, bro. If they are not um, available, somebody very similar and comparable in talent will be. So the 22 pick, 50 and 53, I think we are in great spots. I think we are in great spots. Um, yeah, we do, Bob. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's my opinion that we're not as bad as people think. I don't think losing Fletch and Jason Kelsey, um, particularly Jason Kelsey in this instance, I think Cam Jurgens is ready to go, and I think he obviously he's not going to be as good as Jason Kelsey as far as leadership goes, but we also got to be honest. Jason Kelsey made a lot of mistakes last year. So, in the big scheme of things, it wasn't a lot of mistakes. But for Kelsey, and looking at his standard and how he has played previously, he made a lot of mistakes last year, and he made a couple costly ones, bad snaps, offsides, things of that nature. That was very uncharacteristic of him. So some of them were bad calls. I know some of the brotherly shove calls where they were saying he was lining up off sides and had two hands down and stuff like that. Um, those were just bad calls, and the refs never got it right. So we had 2 or 3 weeks of bad calls when it came to that, and he got blamed for it. Now those were wrong, but there was some other stuff that he did. But I'm saying all that to say, Cam Jurgens is ready to play. I have complete faith in Cam Jurgens. I think he'll be ready to rock and roll. He was ready to start last year, in my opinion. That I'm not worried about. Fletch and Hassan, those are the X factors. Those are the X factors. But I'm still believing that as it sits right now, with what we have, even before the draft, I think we are as good, if not better, than we were last year. Just because the you put the right people in the right spots, just having Vic Fangio and not all of the chaos that we had on defense, um, I still think we're in a good spot. Yes, it's going to hurt not having Hassan Reddick, but we got to see what this kid can do. We got to see what Huff can do. Nolan Smith, like, is the pressure's on you, bro, because you got big shoes to fill. But that's why they get paid the money. That's why they get paid the money. I look at Nolan Smith like Nolan Smith was the defensive version of Anthony Richardson. Nobody was really paying too much mind to Nolan Smith, and he put together them just ridiculous numbers at the combine, and everybody had to take notice. That's the same thing with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was a good quarterback with a lot of physical talent at Florida. He didn't start a lot. He didn't win a ton of games. And not even as a quarterback, I was like, bro, you got to be able to fix your ball trajectory because that joker throws it on the rope, but he doesn't put any arc on his ball because he's so tall and he's so strong. He just lasers it. But you get with the right place, Indianapolis. You get with the right coach, Shane Steichen. You see what Shane Steichen did with Jalen Hurts. Now you got Jalen Hurts, except somebody with a stronger arm that is physically faster and 6'3". So he's got a better version of that. So that's coming. So the only true mismatch player I would consider trading up for is Bowers. He would cause huge issue for D. I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm not throwing Dallas Goddard out to the Wolves just yet, because Dallas, it's hard having these conversations, because for the last 3 years, even as well as we did do on offense, we still had times where we just didn't use the pieces on the field right. We just plain and simply didn't. AJ Brown rattled off the best 5 games in NFL history, and then they stopped throwing him the ball. Dallas Goddard, we could have been using him. We didn't have a screen game. We the offensive logic at times was baffling to me, very frustrating. And again, we were losing games because of the chess match. That's some of the stuff that was just didn't make any sense. Just didn't make any sense. No shifts, very little motion, very little change in formations, like shift to a different formation, bounce outside, make the defense adjust to you to see what they're in and then see what they're going to do, and that's how you set up your mismatches. And we for some reason we didn't do that. We just got out there, lined up, and just ran. And it's like that only works for a minute, but eventually people watching tape, and eventually they're gonna figure you out. And that's what happened after the San Francisco game. And we made no adjustments. The biggest offender was what we were doing as far as running hot routes. To me, that's the biggest offender. That, and of course, trying to run every damn run play from shotgun instead of trying to run from pistol or putting Jalen under center. But that's me as a running back. That's my bias. But it's too many. It's too many examples that exist right now in the league that prove me right. Yes, we can run successfully from gun formation, but if you want to run the RPO and you want to have good play action, you got to have that running back behind the center, and you got to have that quarterback under center to get the best out of play action. That's my opinion. You can run different variations of that: strong, weak, gun, pistol. There's different things you can do it, but it has to start. The foundation has to be with your running back behind the quarterback, in my opinion. So, yeah, Bob, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. I do want to see, and again, this is just me. I want to see Albert O. Albert O's size and speed, and Albert O is a freak type athlete, and we don't use him. So I'm hoping Kellen Moore, he doesn't have any preconceived notions of anybody on the offense. We got Dallas Goddard. We got Albert O. We just signed the kid from the guy from Cincinnati in the Jets, Uzama. So we got across the board on offense. And I'm going on the offense tangent, but the offense is the last thing I'm worried about. My biggest question mark on the offense is Jalen Hurts has to learn another scheme. He has to learn another scheme. That's the only thing that I see that's problematic. Not that he can't do it, but whenever you have to learn another scheme, you got to learn it. And it takes a learning curve before you get it. There's a reason why Patrick Mahomes can call the plays. He's been in that system long enough. That's Andy Reid's system. We don't have a system. Sirianni was trying to do that, but the system, I don't think, was good enough. So maybe this might be another step in that direction where you pretty much putting out the same system as before, but Kellen Moore is going to come in and put his spin on it. I'm good with that. As long as we do some common sense stuff, as long as we throw that freaking trips left, trips right, wide receiver screen, kick it out the door, burn it, whatever you got to do, but do not run that shit no more. I think we wasted. No, he's not the best back um, in the league, but I think we wasted Boston Scott. Every time he got on the field, he produced. And when you got somebody with that type of talent at his size, what do? You run screenplays. A screenplay is another play action play. You know what I'm saying? It's another play action. When people get used to it, you run a variation off of the screenplay and get somebody else off open at the other side of the field. But you got to do it, and we didn't do it. We didn't do it. We only wanted to bring him in. He was the giant killer and all of that kind of stuff. And my thing is, if you can do it against the Giants, you can do it against everybody else. You just got to give them the opportunity, man. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and there's a lot of things that we got to do better. And it'll keep moving. But once we figure out what we're going to do in the draft and make those picks, then we can really get to work. So, but I'm about to get up out of here, man. It is 12:52. So I'm gonna let you guys go. So you got plenty of time to finish your sandwich, wash your hands, clock back in, and get back to work. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you guys joining me. I might be going late tonight, usually at 9:30. But I don't see Jalen and Nick having a tight relationship like Mahomes. That remains to be seen. Everybody wants to use that as an example, but I'm like, hey, personalities are personalities, man, and that's not the biggest thing that you definitely need. And who's to say that the relationship, just because you've been in commercials together, that doesn't mean that y'all buddy? Because guess what? Heck, last year didn't Jalen tell a story of he had to explain to Sirianni's wife why he was working late. So just to be able to have that type of conversation means the relationship is tight enough where you can do that. So little pushback on that, but I understand your point. But you guys get up on out here, man. Enjoy the rest of your lunch. Wash your hands. Clock back in on time. And we're going to do it again tonight. I'll be back probably about 9:30 tonight. So maybe there'll be some more news, and we're going to keep it moving. All right? Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Holla at you later. Go Birds.